Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Driving Leads with Restream. I'm Anya, and my co-host today is Pete. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Lovely to see you, Anya. Hi.
Hi, the other way. It is a little interesting. Yeah, this is super exciting. This is our second live stream together. First time we talked about career in sales. Today we're talking about driving leads. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation. And we are definitely very excited to include our community into this. So please feel free to send us your messages, your comments, your questions. We definitely want to spend some time answering what you would like to know about generating leads through live video. And of course, we are going to also show you a couple of things, give you tons of examples of what we've seen recently, what was working for other companies in terms of converting their audiences into potential buyers. So that's kind of the conversation. While we are kind of setting ourselves up for success here, let us know where in the world you're watching from in the comments. Just let us know country, city, place, or if there's anything else you'd like to share on the topic. And of course, the questions, you can start putting them in right now. We'll start them and we'll come back to them later. So I think we wanted to start our conversation with a little story that we recently um, enjoyed kind of watching one of the companies that we follow. So, Pete, would you like to take it away?
Sure. Yeah. So, real interesting sort of change that we're starting to see around events and streaming and communicating with audiences. And I was in the evening sitting on my most comfortable chair at my home, scrolling X as I tend to do as I unwind at the end of the day. And someone I followed on X for a long time, Owen, the CEO of Intercom, which is a product that we use here at Restream and many people use, recently started posting all of these tweets about an upcoming launch they have around their new AI Copilot product. And of course, as someone who works in the live streaming industry, I was really interested to see what they were up to. And basically, it was a product announcement launch. And what we were seeing is them tweeting, hey, we're going to be hosting this product announcement on LinkedIn, which I thought was cool because a lot of our customers are starting to stream onto LinkedIn. They're starting to do product announcements and they're starting to do all sorts of launches and things there. So I started to see all of his tweets, and I was sort of surprised at the fact that the event was going to be 100% public on LinkedIn. They were promoting it on X, and they were sharing those tweets there. And the event went off incredibly. So I encourage everyone to check it out. They ended up streaming the event live on LinkedIn. And yeah, we've got a nice little clip of it here, really nicely produced. I actually saw that they had turned one of their floors in their San Francisco headquarters into a studio because half of the team is actually, remote working from home or what have you now. So they create this beautiful studio in their space, and they just ran this awesome event, really nicely produced around launching their new AI product. And what was so cool about it is they were promoting it on all of their different social channels, but then driving everyone to this LinkedIn page where everybody could watch it live. And of course, Owen has tens of thousands of followers on X. Intercom has tens of thousands of followers there. They have hundreds of thousands of followers on LinkedIn. So it was a huge success. And the comments from this event were incredible. And of course, not only were they running this event, but they were sending out RSVPs for it and reminders for it. So, I RSVP'd, I signed up, checked out the event, and now I'm getting interesting emails about joining the wait list for this new AI product. So I thought it was a great example of doing a product launch on LinkedIn to your social audiences. They did a fantastic job. And, I think a lot more companies are going to start to approach their product launches in this way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally loved. I remember I was so excited and like I really liked how they presented and how clearly a lot of this content that they eventually offered was pre-recorded and then streamed as live, which is awesome. It's a great hack, but they did do the Q&A session and like they engaged the audience. It was just super exciting. And I also really liked something that you shared with me earlier is how they actually approached the follow-up of at the event, right? Because a lot of times, okay, so the event happened, they have a lot of viewers, so then what? And then they actually did some clever email marketing after that, sending emails, inviting people to join their wait list for the program. So I thought it was really exciting. in addition to promoting, of course, the new offering, a new feature in within Intercom product. But I thought that was a really cool way to kind of like follow up with people um, after the event through using good old email. So
Yeah, it's sort of the best of both worlds, right? Because the event happened publicly, but they were able to capture emails leading up to the event for the RSVP. So they were able to sort of capture those people who are most interested, most excited about it. They want the RSVP, they want the information, but then ultimately the event was public out to all of their audiences. So they were able to get hundreds of thousands of people likely watching it across all their social channels while not gating it, right? This was not a gated event that you had to register for. Everyone could check it out. Everyone could hear about the product announcement, which drove a lot of buzz, but they were still capturing emails along the way to have people join the wait list. So really smart from the Intercom marketing team. And yeah, a cool event. I mean, we're still talking about it a couple weeks later. So hats off to
right.
them.
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome. So I'm just going to acknowledge a few folks here in the chat. Some people shared where they were coming from. New Jersey, living Yankee free. Awesome. Andy is checking in here from St. Louis, Missouri. And there is Sarah. She is from Isidia, and great informational stream. Thank you so much. More to come. We got a lot more cool content for you. So if I see that some people are experiencing some glitches on LinkedIn. Maybe just refresh because it sounds like I just checked it on my own LinkedIn and it seems like it's working fine. Folks are saying, I need customers, Bentley. Okay, we'll talk about that too today for sure. Richard here is saying, great topic, obvious question to confirm the equipment being used for this LinkedIn Live is Restream exclusively. So actually, for this specific event, I'm not sure if they did use Restream at all. Of course, it's like a full blown production there, so they had a lot of cameras and editing done for that specific clip that they started with. But all of these things are totally doable with Restream. Yes, you do need some equipment, such as your laptop and your camera, but it is completely possible to do on Restream platform, pretty much without a lot of additional software, at least. All right. And yeah, I see some people are saying, look, no glitches coming through, all clear. So awesome. That's good to hear. I guess from here, we're going to move on to our next example. So we wanted to share a few examples of how people are really doing it with live streams and how they run events and generate leads, use like really clever and like frictionless RSVP tactics and find really cool and creative ways to follow up. So maybe you could also use live video for the same purpose. So the example I was very also kind of like excited about and wanted to share is something that I came up with recently. Sorry, and we're still kind of like learning this new layout that we just launched. So things are kind of moving interestingly. So for the past couple of weeks, I've been receiving a lot of emails from Stripe. They were inviting me to their sessions, to their in-person event actually in San Francisco. So it was very exciting. They kept sending me emails saying, hey, you can RSVP. Of course, there's an in-person version and there is a virtual version. So I didn't register because I was like I'm not a big fan of webinars. But if you were streaming that somewhere openly, then I would totally, join in and listen. I do believe I even emailed them that something along the lines of like, you guys, if you send that on, if you were streaming that on social, I would totally watch, but I don't know about RSVPing. And sure enough, very close to the event itself, they sent me this great email saying, don't miss the session's keynote. It's today. And they had this button that said watched live now. So I clearly clicked that and they landed me on their YouTube channel where they had 13,000 views just one day after the event. At the time when I was watching, I remember seeing around 5,000 people live watching at the same time. So I thought that was a great opportunity to communicate their message to wide audience and to pretty much make it super frictionless and easy for people who did not choose to RSVP through email, right? So I thought that was an interesting thing. And then there was a twist. So Pete, would you like to share what you also discovered today when you checked out?
Well, yes, I think I was sitting in that same chair at my house scrolling through X, and I actually saw someone, I think one of the board members of Stripe or an early investor, kind of posted out this link and said, hey, this is definitely worth a watch. And so, like, kind of thing number two that's interesting is they drove a bunch of people to watch it, live, because everyone's sort of excited. This is happening now, all that kind of stuff. And so they drove a lot of people then. But then, of course, everyone can watch the video later as well. So you're kind of getting both benefits of a pre-recorded video and live. So, they were sort of tweeting this out and getting people to watch the video that now lives on YouTube forever. So anyone watching the stream now can go follow them and check it out. And frankly, I was a little surprised that Stripe only had 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. So that was like the first thing that stood out to me. Huge company. I mean, they probably have over 1 million customers, but to only have 20,000 subscribers, it's obviously not their biggest focus is building that channel. Of course, the place you would want to stream this, right? Of course, we're going to stream this live on YouTube. But then I looked at them over on LinkedIn, and they have 800,000 followers on LinkedIn. So I think this is a really interesting opportunity. They ran this huge conference, this huge developer conference. It's such a well-done event. The event has been getting great reviews online. I'm not there, but hearing great things. The video is amazing. But I would say probably next time, or maybe tomorrow, if the event's still running, why not run this event on their LinkedIn page live as well? So they got a lot of great reception on YouTube. They definitely have an opportunity to run this through LinkedIn Live at the same time with a tool like Restream. And so first off, great job, Stripe. Amazing, great event. Small opportunity here to get in front of your 800,000 followers on LinkedIn as well. So that kind of stood out to me. But awesome event. And yeah, excited to see what they're up to over there. They're always launching new cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting because we kind of also watch that with many customers of Restream, as well as just some other companies, that a lot of them, especially their CEO or founders, have pretty big following on X as well, right? Former Twitter. And it's such an opportunity to engage that audience, because those people really want to hear from the leaders, and they do consider those people experts in the industry. So just sending that same stream into those destinations could have definitely increased their reach and the opportunity to connect with more people who might not necessarily even be receiving the emails, might not be active customers at this point, but they could still benefit big time from the message and from the content that they prepared. So yeah, with that in mind, just a few quick pointers on why companies choose to live stream in order to drive their leads. And again, just a quick reminder, guys, feel free to, and girls, feel free to add your questions to chat so we can also address, like, even if you have any specific situations or stories or examples of how you are working on generating leads right now, we'll be happy to have a look and give you our tips. But just generically speaking, we do have three main reasons, right? Like why we see, at least in our world, the companies choose to go live. And number one is, of course, reaching your full audience, kind of what we just started with, and the opportunity to expand where you already build some following, as well as start building following without any extra effort. I think, Pete, for me, for example, I hear a lot, and I don't know if you see that with some of the customers that you talk to. There is some kind of, like, I guess, nervousness around, like, oh, if I add more channels, it's going to be more work. Have you experienced that? Like people saying, like, oh, I just want to do only YouTube or only LinkedIn because doing two is going to be overwhelming, which of course is not the case if you're using multi-streaming tools. But have you experienced something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely comes up. Basically, if a large organization has never gone live on, say, their LinkedIn on LinkedIn as a channel, if they've never done it before, of course, you think about YouTube, or you thinking about maybe Facebook or something like that as the type of place where you would see that. So we definitely hear from customers, businesses, large organizations, wondering, well, should I actually go live on these 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 channels? And the answer is yes, because the time is now to start building those audiences. So in the case of Stripe, they have this huge audience on LinkedIn. I guarantee through doing this event, they gained a lot of new subscribers and new followers on YouTube because they drove so many people to that. So then the next time they do an event and they go live on YouTube and LinkedIn at the same time, and hopefully X as well, they're building their following on all these channels by doing all of these. So there's always sort of a trepidation or a question, around that. Historically, it wasn't easy to go live on multiple channels at once. So you would just kind of use maybe a certain encoder and just go live on YouTube. Now it's a lot easier to do with tools like Restream. So we definitely hear it from customers, A, because they're unsure if they have the audience size on those channels, and B, because they think maybe it's a little bit more difficult. But the time is now to start building your following across all of these channels and taking advantage of the ones where you already have it. So yeah, it does come up a lot. And yeah, so really excited to see people using Restream to get in front of everyone.
Yeah, just on that note, I was just looking at our kind of like viewership count right now as we're speaking. So it's interesting because we decided to go live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. And we, of course, paired a couple of our own channels, but primarily those are the platforms. And those are Restream channels, as well as our personal channels, mine and Pete's. And what I'm seeing right now in the view counter is that we have some audience from YouTube, we have some folks from LinkedIn, and we have 363 people watching us on X at the moment. So, by the way, if you guys are watching, drop us a couple of comments because this is super exciting. This is like one of the highest numbers I've seen in a long time. So that to me, that also reminds that X is very actively investing right now in live streaming. So they're growing that that side of their product and their social network big time. I think I've seen some stats recently that they grew over 43% year over year compared to last year. So it's kind of an interesting opportunity there because on one hand, they are investing and promoting live streams actively, but also it's not as saturated as, for example, YouTube, right? There's a lot of content, a lot of videos on YouTube right now. So X is a great opportunity to engage that audience and kind of be like stand out just because you're going live, which I literally see right now looking at our viewers counter. So this is super
Yeah.
exciting.
I mean, in the example of Stripe, Patrick Collison, I was just checking, has 450,000 followers on X, whereas Stripe, the company, has 250,000 followers. So if you have that sort of dynamic, whether you have executives at your company or you represent large organizations, nonprofits or government organizations, oftentimes individuals within those companies or organizations have bigger social followings than the companies themselves. So there's an opportunity to go live both on the company X channel, but also that executive or that key team members X channel at the same time, and sort of spread those audiences across all of those different places. And so great opportunity there. And we're starting to see that more and more as people start to multi-stream more versus just going live on one channel.
Awesome. And I'm seeing a lot of really interesting questions here. So we are going to take a couple of them right now before we proceed with other benefits of live streaming for lead generation, because folks have some practical questions. I think it's very exciting. And we will start with Neil. Let me quickly show this comment here. It's a big one, so it's going to probably cut off a little bit, but I'll read it out loud. So I've been trying to figure out how to improve my LinkedIn live streaming quality. In the past 2 years, I've done almost 500 live events. This is awesome. That's a lot of events. And now average over 200 people a day. So that's pretty large, substantial event. My only platform is LinkedIn. I do stream to Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. My audience values my training, but I want to improve the quality of the display while maintaining the authenticity. How can I get better at the studio side of streaming? It's a great question. So, I'm going to give a few thoughts and tips from my end. I've also done a lot of live streams for Restream in my career, and of course, Pete, you're welcome to add on from what you've seen worked well for our customers and for you. So, I would say tools like Restream Studio make it very easy to produce high quality content. You do need a little bit of investment if you want to look like really good and polished. So one of the things is definitely cameras and lights, your microphone. So once you have that kind of figure it out and test it well, that should like immediately improve the quality of your streams if that's something that you're struggling with. So most of the streams that Restream Studio can power are going to be around 1080p. So it's full HD, so it's a pretty good quality. Remember that most people will be watching on their phones or on their computers, so you don't really need anything like super giant like 4K for this specific audience. And then it's all about the content, right? Like it's about how you present the content. Like luckily tools like Studio have a lot of interesting layouts and QR codes, chat integrations. Like we're highlighting the chat right now. It's a great opportunity to kind of make your streams look more professional and also kind of focus on your viewers. So things like that definitely work well for trainings and for kind of like educational content. So a little bit more visuals, a little bit more sharing video clips. Another thing that might work for trainings is pre-recording them, because sometimes like this is very live and very raw, right? Like so we're not very polished here because we want it to be an open conversation. But if I was to present something and like actually polish it, I would probably record it first and then you can stream it as live after you added it to the way and you make it look the way you want it to look. So those are some other kind of like tips around kind of improving the video quality in particular when you already establish your audience and kind of your cadence and the platforms that you're targeting. Anything else to add, Pete?
No, I mean, I think video is great, right? Like if you kind of take cues from watching, certain things on TV or what have you, there's always a lot of video. There's always some captions. There's always something to catch your eye. I think state changes are really important, meaning, let's change the layout, let's change the view. When people sort of see just, a bunch of squares, 5 people talking, they're reminded of like, a work meeting. Something boring like that. No, I mean, some people have exciting jobs like Anya and I, but a lot of people are stuck on virtual, video conferencing tools all day. When you start to throw in video, when you start to throw in captions, oh, here I am, and you start to move me around a little bit, you get a little bit of a state change for the viewer's perspective. It kind of brings their attention back in. And so I think having sort of the layout view within Restream Studio, where you can build all your scenes along one side and quickly move to them, makes those state changes very easy. So that would be my encouragement there. It should look like something a little bit more dynamic than a typical work meeting. And so Restream Studio is great for that.
Yeah, and I think there's a clarifying question from Neil here, which is awesome because he says, thanks for answering my question. What I mean is that I use slides and tend to be shuffled down to the bottom right and in the little box instead of bigger box. So this is super timely question because luckily, unfortunately, I'm just going to come back to one of the slides that I built around like how a Stripe was using the invitations, just because it's an easy way for me to show you like how this layout is going to look. So this is the opportunity for you to use this new layout. We call it Showtime. It is very new and we just released it a few days ago. But this is the opportunity to actually showcase your content and still stay pretty sizably bigger right next to your content. And there's also a very easy way to like shuffle that around. So if at some point you want to actually emphasize your video, you can very easily and quickly switch it. So compared to this layout, which I'm assuming you're referring to, our classic kind of like presentation mode, which can look like this or like this when you are kind of appearing on certain sides. This new layout is really designed to make sure that both your content, your media, and you as a speaker and the host stand out equally. And you can very easily change things and move things around. And especially when you are looking at things like videos, you can see that like we have a few different videos here. This is actually a video. Maybe I'll find something more dynamic so it's more obvious. You can see that like the videos in the situations, if you pre-recorded some clips, they appear pretty dynamic and they don't have any like extra black bars or boxes. So the new layout makes it really, really slick to use any kind of media, no matter the format, and kind of help you and your content stand out and kind of like share equal presence in the live stream. So it's really really good stuff here. And thank you so much for your questions. I think it's good to know. And of course, Neil says, I love Restream, been using it the whole time. Thank you for streaming with us, and we love to hear this feedback. We do have a couple more questions. There's a question around LinkedIn in particular. So Richard is asking, as video streaming professional broadcast engineer, I've noticed the video streaming tools natively available on LinkedIn Live are less refined than YouTube. And has there been any information from LinkedIn about their product roadmap regarding live video streaming? I know that it is pretty recent that LinkedIn even like had any kind of studio. For the longest time, they had preferred partners, Restream being one of them, that they recommended to use for specifically for video capturing. And for a reason, LinkedIn is a social platform. They have a lot of different tools and abilities. So live video tools and live video cameras, like basically capturing videos, was not necessarily their main focus. So it's just easier for them to offer handy integrations like the one with Restream to make you look good on camera and to use all the other abilities of LinkedIn. So from my perspective, and that also applies to other tools like Facebook and even YouTube, I do think that tools like Restream or even like OBS, like professional encoders, just offer you a lot more flexibility and opportunity to look really good, to show up for your audience with this professional graphics and like cool layouts, something that those native platforms don't offer, again, because that's not their main focus, right? So I don't know, Pete, if you have anything to add to that. And from here, it's going to be a very nice segue in terms of how you can actually schedule events on LinkedIn and connect to them. But yeah, if you have anything else to add to this point, feel free to.
No, yeah, I don't know what their product roadmap looks like, but everything you're seeing here, we built with Restream Studio in not a whole lot of time. So, I encourage you to try it out and or use a great tool like OBS and have at it. But that's probably going to be your best bet to sort of easily level things up. Also, of course, by doing that, you can go and stream to LinkedIn and YouTube at the same time versus just using the native tool that's just built for LinkedIn or just YouTube. But, great products, amazing work that they're doing. I think LinkedIn in particular has done incredible work around notifying your followers. So when you do go live on LinkedIn, they do a fantastic job going through and emailing people, notifying people. Anya mentioned that on X, if you're live, it's actually going to show on your profile. So as you're scrolling through, you'll see if someone's live at any given time. So I think these social networking companies, they really know what they're doing around driving your audience to you when it comes to actually creating, video content and things like that using products and services that's what they do all day would be your best bet from a video content creation perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And let us know in the chat if you're interested. Like I do have a few quick little screen recordings that show like how exactly you can connect your video that you're creating in Restream into your LinkedIn event. So it's actually a super seamless process. So a lot of times people think like, oh, I would rather use everything on LinkedIn just because I kind of don't want to switch and like kind of like move between different platforms. But with Restream, the integration works pretty seamlessly. And yeah, just signal in the chat if you're interested. It's like a super short video that I can show you how you can create your event on LinkedIn and then connect Restream into it and then go live into it, and how easy it is to then for your viewers to RSVP, and how easy it is for you to get those RSVPs for future follow-ups. But just want to make sure that people are interested in that before we start playing clips, because there are a lot of great questions, and so we'll continue answering them because this is primarily your time. I love to run this Q&A session super focused on the audience. So what you guys want to know is the most important thing that we want to cover today. So there is a question that is actually also, it's a great question since we talked about multiple platforms, reaching your full audience. I'm wondering if Restream uses more of the streaming power than an individual streaming service if you're streaming on YouTube, Kick, or Twitch. So Restream, since it's a browser-based solution, does not put any additional load on your computer or your system if you're streaming to multiple platforms. So regardless of if you're using Restream Studio for capturing your video, or if you're using an encoder like OBS or Vimix or Zoom and then connect it to Restream in order to spread your video into multiple different destinations, in any case, all of those things are happening in the cloud on our servers. So there is no additional load on your computer, because that's a very important point for some people. They just don't have the capacity, like the supercomputers, they can power 3, 4, 5 simultaneous streams. But luckily with Restream, you don't have to do it. It's exactly the same as streaming into one place. And that's basically the power and the beauty of it, that you can maximize and amplify your reach and get a lot more people to watch you also on the platforms where they prefer watching, instead of landing them all in one place. But there is absolutely no tax on your internet or your CPU. So that's a good question. All right. Yeah, thanks Neil for asking a question. This is really good stuff. Just going through some questions here, and Pete, feel free to pick any if you see anything that's interesting, that we definitely should address. Richard says, nice pre-production work really enhances the live stream experience quality. I agree. That's one of the things. The recent changes with Restream Studio, the new version has scenes, and I've been like a big fan and active avid user of them, because you can actually kind of preset the flow of your stream in advance, and it just makes it so much easier and less nerve-wracking when you kind of know what's coming next, and those scenes already designed to show exactly the materials and the presentations and the videos that we wanted to share with the community. Okay. What else? Great question from Andy. Does Restream support closed captioning? The closed captions that are pushed to all platforms simultaneously. So we do get this request quite a bit, and I don't know, Pete, do you hear that a lot from our enterprise clients a lot, like asking about captions, or is it kind of like a rare thing?
Occasionally, obviously, I think people are seeing more and more sort of clips and things like that, sort of pre-recorded videos and video clipping that includes captions. So as you're sort of scrolling through a feed, you can read it with the, or experience the clip without the sound on. So we hear a lot around that, and I think that's a great use case, and we've got some great, sort of integrations for doing that with Restream. I think the question is probably more about, closed captionings on actual live streams, which we don't hear as much, as some of the platforms have that built in natively. But we do hear a lot on sort of the clips and how do I turn my live streams into clips quite a bit from larger organizations, since that's a huge trend right now. But I'll let you talk about Andy's question specifically, because I assume it probably has to do with live streaming.
Yeah, of course. So we currently don't support that, even though there have been requests around just adding that as a feature. Just similarly, how you can display comments or certain visuals on your stream, like you could potentially upload your captions, and then they basically just run with your stream. So we don't have that feature right now, primarily because major platforms solve it really well. So like auto-generated captions on both LinkedIn and YouTube generally are pretty good. And with the developments in artificial intelligence, of course, we can only expect that they will get better and better. I'm sure all of us have seen those exciting clips of people speaking one language, and then in real time it gets translated into another. So Pete can sound like he speaks perfect Italian. I can sound like I speak perfect French. So things like that are definitely coming to more platforms. So we don't have that functionality yet, but if that's important, definitely continue to suggest that, because we take our feature requests very seriously, and a lot of our things on the roadmap are informed by what our users need. So definitely continue submitting those. And if you have any context on why specifically the closed captions on end platforms don't work for you, and like what is a specific use case for having them preset in advance, especially if it's a live video, I would love to learn more about that. So feel free to DM me on LinkedIn and tell me your story, because I'd like to know. It's a very interesting use case. So Neil has another comment here. I do know marketing and post in Restream that goes to platforms one day earlier. Last week I had over 300 people with I guess those are two different events. One was 300 people and 500 people for another one, and all that because of LinkedIn notified my network, which makes it really easy for me. Thank you so much, Neil, for saying that. Yes, so LinkedIn notification system is great. Like Pete kind of touched on that earlier. I've seen that the streams that or the companies that I follow or people that I follow, whenever they go live, like my LinkedIn kind of transforms. It is so clear that something is happening because I get notifications. I get the profile of that person kind of like showing up on top with like a little life circle. If I started to watch an event and then kind of moved on to other places in LinkedIn, it still appears as a chat message, even though it's just an event, but it appears like I have a new message. So I'm like super inclined to open and have a look again. So it's, and definitely I've seen, it kind of depends on your notification settings, but I've heard that people get emails every time the companies that they follow go live, every time someone comments on the live stream. So LinkedIn is definitely working hard to make sure that the exposure that you get is happening for when you set up your stream and when your community is engaging. So this is definitely this is great feedback. So thanks for sharing that. Big time. All right. So we do have a few more questions, but
Yeah, Anya, I do see a
yeah,
comment sort of about the chats on multiple services, and is there a limit there? I can throw it up. So
yeah,
yeah, I think the this is a great comment here, and actually it reminds me of what you mentioned earlier, which is the concern about going live on multiple platforms, or sort of the question around doing that, which is something we often hear from larger businesses or organizations. It's sort of a question of, how am I going to manage that? Of course, from a streaming perspective, that's taken care of for you. But also from a chat perspective, people kind of wonder, how am I going to manage the chats or the comments? And you'll see here, as we've been kind of going through, I believe this is from YouTube. Andy's chat was from LinkedIn. You can see the little icons there next to each person. So the way Restream works is it's going to bring in all the chats from the end platforms that you're going to, and so that helps a ton from managing the questions and the comments from multiple places. So I just did want to call that out. That question comes up quite a bit from people who have not done that before. I don't think there's any sort of limit to how many chats can be on the live. It's just a question of if we can integrate and pull in the chats via their API, and then if we can push back to the end platform. But I don't think there's a limit. But who knows? I mean, some people get some crazy numbers there, but I haven't seen it ever sort of be limited before.
yeah. I've never heard like any massive complaints that like, oh, I reached the limit of my chats. Like you have to have a very very busy chat to get there. I believe it's I don't think it's unlimited, because like, I mean, most things in technology have some kind of at least arbitrary limits. But yeah, it's definitely the integration feature is helpful, because you can see all the chats in one place. And yes, there are some limitations in terms of like where you can respond if you're like throwing links in there or typing up answers. So we are aggregating chats from most platforms that are connected through API, right? There are some exceptions, of course, but when it comes to actually responding, our feature of QR codes, which you actually can see one right here. If you do want to talk to Pete about Restream custom plans, you can scan that QR code and fill in the form. But those kind of things can also help with the situations where you don't get the chat messages, or when you cannot respond in chat. So you can actually encourage people to just scan a QR code in order to take the action that you are offering that they would take. So yeah, so this is a good question. But yeah, feel free to elaborate on that if there's anything specific that you're looking in terms of limits. We can definitely double check for you and look it up. All right. So great stuff, great questions. And there is also a question about vertical streams and shorts on YouTube. I'm going to take that one real quick here. And vertical live streams and YouTube shorts. So Restream has an option for vertical layouts. So you can go vertical in Restream. And I actually have piece of content that it's kind of still in the works, but I will definitely be sharing it with our Restream community, where we collected like how the streams and the layouts look if you go vertical and like people are watching on the laptop, or the other way around if you're going horizontal and someone is watching on their mobile. But right now, with like more optimizations that we did in studio in particular, it's actually pretty easy to go vertical. I cannot actually unfortunately change the orientation in the middle of the stream, but if we wanted to go vertical from here, there are layouts that allow us to kind of like appear together vertically and just create content for those portrait mode streams and for this mobile first platforms. So within Studio, it's pretty easy. It's just like one little toggle that you that you select. Awesome. And
Anya,
so,
I had one thought that I don't think we fully touched on this yet, but it is sort of brand new, so I thought the audience might be interested in it. And this
yeah.
is the ability to stream very easily into a pre-scheduled LinkedIn Live event. And what this opens up is the ability to actually use LinkedIn's native form capture. So this is a new thing. You know, LinkedIn has had this native form capture for RSVPing to events. And you know, basically what you can do is, instead of driving someone to some sort of landing page where they have to fill in a form or what have you, you can actually use the native LinkedIn form here. As you can see that register, it
Mhm.
pre-fills your information for you directly on LinkedIn based off your LinkedIn profile. And so now, instead of, you know, trying to run some webinar where you're driving someone to a landing page and trying to capture their information, and everyone knows, I mean, the drop-offs is often 80% after you've driven someone to that landing page, you can instead just drive them directly onto LinkedIn here. They can register with 2 clicks. Bop, bop, there you go. And then now you're going to get all of their information natively within LinkedIn. And now with Restream, you can actually very easily stream to that LinkedIn event directly. So this is a new thing that we've really improved the workflow around. So I encourage everyone to go out there and try it. So yes, you know, anyone can be watching this event. We had, you know, people register for this event in advance, which is great. But now we have hundreds and hundreds of people just watching it live because we went live on all of our platforms. But if you're someone who's looking to capture leads from these types of events, I encourage you to use the LinkedIn native tool for lead capture here, and then use Restream to stream directly to that event. So hopefully that description makes sense. I know we've got some visuals here, but this is a brand new thing, and we expect more and more people to start using this versus sort of the old school way of driving someone to a landing page and then they, you know, put in don't email me at gmail.com as their email. So I think people are looking for new ways to do this, and this is a good recommendation.
Yeah, so this like little clip kind of shows how seamless it is. It's super easy. So of course here we are showing like the path when you already created an event on LinkedIn. So there's one more step before this when you actually set up your event on LinkedIn. But this really solves for like both kind of problems. Like, where do I land these people? Where is the landing page for my webinar or my event, right? And how do I make this like high quality, beautiful looking production so I can delight my viewers? So this is kind of like combining the two, because with like using LinkedIn registration forms, it doesn't show it here, but as the host of this event, I can download a very simple CSV file and then follow up with those people by email if that's also, as you can see in all those events, you can see the attendees, like who said that they will attend. And to me personally, this is kind of this is a better way. If I'm trying to connect with people, it's easy for me to just friend, so to say, people on LinkedIn and say, hey, thanks for joining our event, and I would like to stay in touch, so, which is precisely what I'm going to do after this event. So be on the lookout for those invitations, because that is another opportunity to build relationships and start talking to your prospect customers who came to your event and might not necessarily be very much into emailing. But with this email, with this LinkedIn integration, you actually have the best of both worlds, right? Like, LinkedIn already builds a page for you. It's very easy for people to register. It's frictionless. They just press one button, so they don't have to think about like, oh, I got to fill in this form and it's going to like take all my information. It's all like within LinkedIn, and you see people, their pictures, their profiles, their positions and companies. So I think it's a very nice, like an elegant solution for running live events and webinars in like more modern and cool way. So that's kind of how I see about this. All right. Yeah, we answered a lot of questions today, which is awesome. Just, I guess, as our last uh, moment, as we're wrapping up this conversation, the QR code right next to Pete right now is the opportunity to contact our sales team. So if you're interested in kind of exploring these opportunities to run your webinars and your live events on LinkedIn and other social platforms at scale, this is the way to do it. We will be happy to talk to you, understand your use case, recommend some solutions. And of course, the Restream pricing for companies is here, so you can get an idea of what we are looking for. If you are a business, if you're a company, this is something that that we wanted to share. And yeah, I guess we will have a look at any latest questions before we wrap up our conversation. So let me see. I think Neil is looking at clarifying something here. So now I would create the event in LinkedIn first, and then in Restream on my event, I can select existing LinkedIn events to connect. Yes, that's correct, Neil. You can totally do that, and it's super easy because by creating that event on LinkedIn, you can set up this RSVP forms. So that's the only difference. You can still create events directly on Restream and then connect all the channels. But if you really care about this RSVP forms, that is something that LinkedIn currently does not offer through API. We are working on convincing them to do that. So LinkedIn, if you're listening, hey, everyone loves RSVP forms. But yes, if you want to include that form, you can create the event on LinkedIn first, but then very easily and seamlessly connect to it, just like our little video showed earlier. So yeah, great value add. So okay. And yeah, so I think we are going to. Oh, sorry, that was not something we thought about, like bringing, like if we were like, just like running out of time and not having enough. Running out of time, but still having a lot of questions, we would definitely be bringing people in with live video. But I don't know if that's something that we are that we're ready for today. We might skip it for the next opportunity. But yeah, it's very exciting. And if you ever have any more questions for us, please let us know. Feel free to reach out and connect to us to our personal profiles on LinkedIn. Contact sales if you're interested in exploring more. And yeah, I guess that was our show on lead generation. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It was awesome.
Thanks everyone for joining, and excited to see what everyone gets into with your different events. Definitely encourage people to do their product announcements on all of their channels, like we saw with Stripe and Intercom. It really is the future. And I think the last point I'd leave with all of this is, all of these events provide something that the pre-recorded videos don't. And it's a two-way conversation. And I really think that's what audiences are looking for. You can always pre-record a video and upload it onto YouTube, but what you really miss out is what we did today, which is a two-way conversation with our audience and our users and our customers. And so I think that's really the future of the B2B community, is having those two-way dialogues. So encourage everyone to do your product announcements, webinars, etc., on your social channels, so you can have great conversations with folks like Neil and everyone else who've been using the product. It's just great to connect with you all live. So thanks so much for joining, and happy streaming.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again. We will be doing this more often because we're totally enjoying this. Thanks, everyone.